This is a vacuum pump and a power steering drive setup for a second generation Dodge Cummins. This is a bit of an older style, and one way to tell is that this one requires spacers here and here, and the later second generation trucks, this mount was cast in such a way that the spacers were no longer required. And there were some other changes made as well for the later second generation setups. This is where it's mounted on the side of this 12 valve Cummins, and it's driven off of the cam gear. This is where the oil feed line attaches for the vacuum pump, and the other end of that oil feed line attaches here, and so that oil, it feeds the bushing that's in here, and it goes through the vacuum pump. And I haven't had this gear off, but I suspect the oil then passes through the bearing and then drops back into the crankcase. So I have already had this apart, and it's loose right now, but I've got it together like this. I thought that would give a better idea on what I'm working on here. This is the old power steering pump, and it's showing some wear on the drive right here and here as well. And so the coupler also has some wear, not as bad. And combined, then it develops a fair amount of play in there. So I want to replace this pump with a remanufactured one, and it comes with a new end on here. And I have a different coupler as well. This one is in better condition. It's used, but altogether it's a much better fit. On the old power steering pump, it's evident where the oil side of the seal was contacting this part of the pump, and the remanufactured pump just so happens that there's some very slight damage on the surface right in about that same area where that seal would run if it was all assembled exactly the same way. Oh, right about in there. There was more areas as well, I think. That may be the worst right there. The original seal, it was it doesn't look like it's driven in all the way. There's a bit of a gap. That seal could have actually been pushed in a little bit more. So if the new seal is driven in all the way, that would actually put the oil side of that lip over this way a little bit. And the other thing is, the new seal, it looks as though as the lip itself here for the oil side is actually manufactured more towards this side compared to the original one. So those two things combined, I think, will move it off of the areas there where I had some concern. Another difference from this setup to the later second generation trucks is this style does not have a seal retainer to hold the seal. In this one, the seal is actually physically pressed into this housing. So the there's no seal retainer to remove first and then remove the seal. And this socket fits in there quite nicely. I tried knocking that seal out with the socket, and the socket went through the seal and it didn't grab it properly to knock it out. So there's the socket, and here's the spring from that seal. I had the screwdriver on the inside of that seal, what was left of it, but there was enough stress that was transferred to the outside of the steel that it caused some damage on the inside here where the seal goes. So I did a bit of sanding in there. These seals can actually go in dry, and so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a very little bit of silicone right in that damaged area, and then I'll press that seal in otherwise dry. It'll be just that one area where there'll be a bit of silicone just to seal that up.